I was wondering if you could talk about how you were approached to, at the end of Buffy, go to Angel, like when that was during season 7 of Buffy, or was that during the summer, in between? Just talk about that.
Yeah, that was at the end of, that was at the end of Buffy. 7 years came, and Sarah was tired, man. We were known as Buffy the Weekend Slayer. We literally worked 12 to 20-hour days every day, and Sarah was in 3/4 of the scenes, if not more, so she got toasted, man. And Josh just came up to me and goes, well, Angel's canceled, unless you come along. And I'm like, okay, right on. And in my mind, I'm thinking, and I just remember this delicious summer where you have the storytellers in Hollywood, and then you have the bean counters in Hollywood, and the storytellers all wanted me on the show, and I'd already been told it's the only way the show will go forward, but the bean counters were trying to lowball me as far as money, like really low. And I remember just thinking, well, this is just going to be delicious. I'll hold out until the last moment, and they'll pay. They'll end up paying. Because I wasn't holding out. I was just holding out to make the same money that I ended up making on Buffy, which was, by that point, pretty darn good. And they just kept putting me out in front of the press, telling everybody that I was going to be on the show, and I was just like, well, okay, you just give me a better hand every day. I don't know what to say about it other than that. Joss and I talked a little bit about why I would be on the show, just where I would fit in, and it was very exciting because on Buffy I had to be sidelined a lot. I entered the show as a real badass villain, and in Joss's world, vampires are not cool. They're supposed to be dead quickly, and they're supposed to be ugly when they kill. They're not romantic characters, and they're standing in for all of the things one gets over in high school. The whole point of Buffy is how do you realize that the world is messed up and still care at the end of the day. And so vampires really stand in for all the problems of the world. So the fact that the audience liked Spike was like a big problem. I remember one time Joss literally backed me up against the wall of the set and just goes, I don't care how popular you are dead, dead, dead. He was not joking. He was, so when he said, you come over on Angel and you will be the dark side of Angel. You'll be the doppelganger. You're going to show what will happen to Angel if he makes certain mistakes. And so you're not going to be on the sidelines anymore. You'll be right in the center of it. And I was like, well, that'd be fun. Yeah.
You were great on Northern Exposure, by the way.
Oh, well, thank you. Right on.
Oh, yeah.
So my question is about your episode of Supernatural. How much fun was that for you to be in, and how long did it take for you to get along with the cast and stuff?
It was a blast. It took me about 2 seconds to get along with the cast. The cast was fabulous. Going on that show was a lot like, in a pilot, everybody is nice to each other. Everyone's rested. It's like a love fest for a pilot. By the end of 5 years, at the end of the season, everyone's like, leave me alone, I'm tired, my God, I'm dying. But that show was like filming a pilot. And I was like, you guys are in your 5th year. Wow. And really for me, besides trying to do Romanian, because it was typical television, they didn't know the translation until the last second, and they come flying in with the Romanian translation like 5 minutes before we're supposed to film it. And Charisma and I just start laughing. You've got to be kidding me. And so we wrote it all on big cue cards, and we worked it out, and it all worked out fine. But for me, the most fun was just hanging out with Charisma Carpenter. Such a good actor. I thought she was like her character Cordelia. I thought there was very little reason for me to get to know her at all. kind of a punk rocker in high school, so I wasn't like, oh, cheerleader, you know? And I have to feel bad about that now because she's really a fabulous person, and we just sat around the set. She was always running away from me on Buffy. Like, if we had a scene together, she was always exiting on the other side of the set. So we had, you know, our chairs were never very close together, and so we had a whole week just to sit there and wait for the shots to get ready, and we just talk about, you know, friends and family and kids and stuff, and I found out that she's a real sweetheart, just fabulous.
In a world where, you know, reboots and remakes are inevitable, and I have vampire teeth, so excuse the list. Who would you christen to play the next Spike? Although I still think you could do it. Fuck the whole 50-year-old thing. Who cares?
I would hope that they could find an unknown to play Spike. And there are plenty of them. You just have to go into theater and find them. They're probably, the dude's right here in Chicago.
Hi.
Hello.
So, who's your favorite musician?
Hi.
Hey, man.
So your hair's pretty black right now, but I was wondering what process did you have to go through to make it brighter than the sun?
Pretty painful, actually. It's a bleach, you know, and when you have, my hair's naturally curly, which means it's naturally dry, which means the scalp is naturally dry, and so the chemicals would get into the little tiny microscopic cracks, and I would usually, they would put the stuff in it, and then I would get to my trailer and lay down in the fetal position and shake for like 45 minutes, and then come back, and then a lot of times, especially during fight scenes, it would bleed, or like a big pus ball would like open up, and just drip down my face, and it was pretty punk rock, I gotta say. That was not the most fun part of the job. It looked great though, man. I was like, that looks awesome. You know, and it had to be done every episode, at the beginning of every episode, because vampire's hair is not supposed to grow. So if there's any roots, it gives it a lie. So it was done way more often than it was designed. Like on the bottle, it doesn't tell you to do it every 9 days. But yeah, you know, it was a short haircut, so it had to be really close. It sucked.
Did they give you a raise at least?
Eventually, I forced them to.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I was at the concert last night. Great job, by the way.
Right on.
There were a few of us trying to convince you to sing the song that you sang in the musical episode. And you said that you don't remember it, which broke my heart. I just wanted to know if you really don't remember it.
I died.
First of all, awesome call on Lennon, by the way. I'm a huge John Lennon myself, so. My question was, Spike went through so many different transitions where he's the bad guy, he's a ghost, he's in love with Buffy. How did you feel about Joss making you do so many different versions of Spike? And also, how did the Spike is going to have a crush on Buffy come about?
Yeah, you know, Joss would come up to me every season and say the same thing, which was, I have nothing for you. I have great story for all the other characters. I have no ideas for your character at all. I don't know. And so whenever they would come up with something, I was just relieved that I still had a place in the show. They kind of plugged me in as needed. You know, I was the villain, then I was the wacky neighbor, then I was the love interest, and I was the guinea pig hero. And it all, I think, because the writing was so good, it all stitched together into one character. But because there was never any overarching plan, we went to a lot of different places, like you said, and I think that sometimes it was a little terrifying. Sometimes it was like, what is this character anymore? But I think it held together. And I think that's one of the reasons that the character was as popular, because it was very surprising, like, what the hell is he going to do this week?
And you were able to pull it off every time, so I'll give you that.
Hello. Happy birthday, by the way.
Thank you.
I'm all nervous. Okay. So, I have a question about the Buffy comic. Hopefully this hasn't been asked already. But the artists have done a really good job of making the characters look like the actors, I think. And so and including your mannerisms, you know, kind of head tilts and with hands and how they're doing it. So I was wondering what it felt like to see your character go on, very much like you, looking like you, but not you acting it.
Yeah, easier that way. You know, it became most exciting when Joss took over the storyline and when Jane Espenson started writing for it and stuff, because I always maintained that the reason that Buffy was such a good show, and Angel as well, was the writing. The cinematography was fabulous, the production values were fabulous, the acting was good enough, stunt crew was amazing, but the writing is really what propelled that of where it really is. And so to allow the writers to continue with those characters unimpeded by budget or an aging cast, you know, it's just really kind of beautiful, because I think the metaphor that I talked about before about caring about a messed up world is worth exploring for about as long as one wants to. So yeah, I'm very happy about it. I think that can go on for like ever. Yeah.
Hi, there's so many vampire TV shows and movies, but to me, I've kind of been there, done that after Buffy. None of them come close because of the writing, the acting, the humor. So you guys are responsible for all these other movies and things now, but my question is, who's like the funniest, fun person on the cast to hang around with and joke around with?
Andy Howard. He was just the most loving, fabulous human being until they put those contacts in his eyes. Some people have a reaction that's really painful to the large contacts that are needed for Hollywood. And like my eyes were fine with him, but he was in severe pain. So he went from happy-go-lucky Andy to in the corner like this, but never rude, never ungrateful for his job, just weeping, you know. But yeah, he was just fabulous. He was like a one-man party without the drugs. I thought the time's up, son. Thanks a lot, guys. You guys were great.